Welcome to the podcast, Artistry and Life, Navigating Towards Happiness. I'm your host, Ray, and I have with me my co-host, Life Practitioner and Coach, Marking. What's going on, Marking?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm pretty happy today.
Ooh, wow. Wait, happiness. Is that what we're going to talk about today?
Yes, you got it, man.
Happiness. Well, let's preface this by saying we are going to talk about happiness, but this is a journey that we're going to take people on. So we're going to talk about these first couple of steps towards happiness. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Okay.
Well, before we do that, I got to give you a couple of examples of people being unhappy. Would that be cool?
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do
it. The person that hates their 9-to-5 job. Is that kind of, you wake up every morning, you get coffee, you get your breakfast, blah, blah, blah. You get in your car, you commute hour away, get into your job, see the same people every day. Then it's 5 o'clock, you get in your car, you go home, you go eat dinner, you say hello to your family, go to bed. You do the same thing over again, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah, that sounds like one of the jobs I had.
I think we all had those jobs.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's a great example.
So help me out, man. Help the audience out there. How can we get through that and try to find happiness through all of that, through the ebbs and flows of what's going on?
Yeah. No, that's a great example, because everybody, I think, at some point, to your point, really experiences that. So one of the first things that we do in trying to navigate towards happiness is really start to establish a foundation, a base for us to work off of. So the first couple of questions I would ask are what it is that you're feeling now, and where is it that you're going? So let's walk through that process. So you're unhappy. What are some of the feelings that describe that unhappiness for you in that job?
I have to go way back to find in my memory bank to find that job that just made me unhappy. But one of them was the commute.
The commute.
Yeah.
Right. What about the commute made you unhappy?
Oh, it was just getting in the car and driving aimlessly to my job that I didn't like, that kind of thing. It was just like, why am I doing this? I got to do something else. So it was just that dreaded feeling that just like, I got to do it because I got to pay my bills.
So maybe wasting time.
It wasn't in my dreams and goals that I wrote for myself when I was younger.
So it's a waste of time. What other feelings can you describe around that job?
I mean, just like tedious. Doing the same thing over and over again. And it's like, I'm taking naps when I shouldn't be taking naps because I'm just bored.
Right. So boredom, not feeling fulfilled, not feeling like maybe you're valued.
Maybe I needed a pat on the back once in a while for doing the things I did. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So not feeling valued, not having
acknowledgement. Yeah.
Acknowledgement or being encouraged. Right. So that's great. This is where you're starting from. So what is it that you would like to feel in that job?
I just want to be happy. I want to go to a job that I could enjoy my coworkers. I can enjoy the work that I'm doing. I could feel excited about what I'm doing and feel like I'm adding to the world and not just to someone's, bottom line and profit, that kind of thing.
Right. So feeling of value, feeling like what you do matters.
Yep.
Feeling like you're contributing. This would all add to what your idea of happiness is for that job.
For that job, yeah, at that time, yeah.
Right.
I would have felt a lot better if someone said, "Hey, good job, Ray. Keep it up."
Yeah, the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Those are great feelings, right? That
keeps me going. It would keep me going.
Keep you engaged. It would make you feel like, oh yeah, I am contributing. I do matter, and this helps provide some joy in my life, at least as far as work is concerned, right?
Yes, correct.
So that's great. We've established where it is that you're starting and where it is that you want to go. So let's talk a little bit about what happiness is, what our audience can use as reference to what happiness is all about, or at least some perspectives. Happiness is not a destination. Happiness is a state of being. Happiness is subjective. It's different for everybody. Happiness is important. It's so important that they put it into our Constitution. Do you remember hearing about that in the
Yeah, there's some
Constitution?
about pursuit of happiness.
Exactly. I'll read it
Yeah.
for you. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So it's within our rights to be happy, right? So we get to work towards that. We get to enjoy that. The only thing that we get to understand about when we are in that pursuit of happiness, and this is 3 questions that I like, that I share with my clients for them to ask themselves. One is, what you say or do make your soul smile? And if what you say or do makes your soul smile, is it at anybody's expense? And more importantly, is it at your own expense? And if you're able to answer those questions where it's within your alignment, then that's a good indication of whatever it is that you say or do is moving in the right direction to make you to warrant your pursuit towards happiness. The other thing about happiness that we also should recognize is that happiness is an inside job. Happiness is something that we generate for ourselves. A lot of times what happens is we look for the externals to provide our happiness. That's how we think that we can be happy. Is I got a great job, I got the nice car, I go on these fantastic vacations, and when I travel first class. Like, this is what people think makes them happy. The externals can influence our happiness, but the real juice is understanding that happiness is something that we generate for ourselves. Does that make sense? So when you
Explain that one, one more time, regarding finding that happiness within.
Well, so again, what we tend to do is that we tend to look for happiness through things that happen in our externals. Like, if I do this workout, this is going to make me happy. If I buy this dress, this is going to make me very happy. It's going to make me feel good about myself. You know, if I present myself in this certain way, then I'm going to be happy. When in actuality, the real work, the real truth behind happiness is that we find happiness from within. We are responsible for our own happiness, not anybody else. We don't give our power away for any one person or any one event or any words to dictate our happiness. We empower ourselves by understanding that happiness generates from within us. So these are some things that you get to know about happiness. One other point that I'll say about happiness is that happiness comes from the same place as where our sadness comes from. And that's through our mindset. So the reason why, again, it's important to establish where it is that we are in the beginning and where it is that we want to move towards is that once we label and identify where that starting point is, that's also a little insight to where our mindset may be at as well. And then through this process, what we'll start to learn is that how we think and how we feel, aka our mindset, can affect our ways of being for positive or for negative feelings that we may experience. And then the last thing that I'll mention about establishing your North Star or your mission statement or the direction that you want to go. This is just, again, the foundation. This is a base of where we think happiness is. As we go through this process and we talk more in depth about mindset, about being self-aware, understanding self-talk, language, energy, the power of choice, once we start diving deep into that, then that can start to affect our mindset, and that will, as a result, shift our ideas of what we think happiness really is for us.
Okay. I get that. Now let's go back to when we were kids.
Okay.
When we were, as a kid, you're happy just playing with your Hot Wheels or swimming or playing baseball, basketball, whatever, right? You're just happy as a kid, right? Hopefully you were happy as a kid. And then you have you start developing your own dreams and goals, right? Oh, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. And then unfortunately, we have, parents that came from another country, were Asian American, Filipino American, Chinese American, whatever.
Right.
and they think that we should be happy becoming a doctor or an attorney or an engineer, a profession, right? A professional job makes a lot of money. That will make you happy. So you won't struggle. So you won't struggle like us when we were in the country that we came from. They left everything over there to come here for opportunity. And they want to give us, the best education that they can and give us the opportunity, the American dream, right?
Right.
And then we do all that. We follow them. We go to school, get good grades, and then we get into a good, get a good job. And all of a sudden it goes back to that whole thing, what we started with, the 9 to 5.
Right. Right.
So how can we kind of break that cycle and create happiness for ourselves? And I know you're going to say it comes from the same point, finding that North Star and, finding that thing within. But you and I know there are a lot of people out there that are in that situation I just said, and it would be great to help them out. Like,
Yeah. Well, no, that is a great example. As a Filipino American brought up by immigrants from the Philippines, I definitely can relate to that. I think anybody who's immigrated here can attest to that with their experience from their parents. And first of all, like what I would say is that, let's not throw our parents under the bus. They did the best they could with the tools that they had, their ideas of what and concepts of what happiness was for them. They're just wanting the best for us as well. Unfortunately, what happens is that because we get pushed into these things without us really wanting to do those, then there's that level of unhappiness that starts to take place for us, right? To your point earlier, yes, I will bring it back to establishing what that base is for people so that you can start to really just build on that foundation and then build off of that. Again, what it is that you're experiencing right now, what are these feelings of unhappiness that you're experiencing, and list a couple of those feelings, and then find out what is the direction that you want to go. What are the feelings that you want to have? And then if you want to take it deeper with those questions, what are these feelings that you have? If you were able to attain those feelings, how would that change you? How would that affect your relationships? How would that affect your ways of being? Why is that important for you? Right.
Yeah.
And then once we establish that, at least we have a direction to go in now. And then, because this is a process, this is a practice, then when we start going into deeper conversations about mindset, then we can start to address with more tools and more perspectives on how to get out of that rabbit hole of depression of whatever it is that we're experiencing. But the only other thing that I would add to that, especially because it is so prevalent in our communities as Filipino American, and just in Asian cultures in general, like the one question that you get to ask yourself is, you got to ask yourself, am I living my life for my parents, or am I living my life for myself? And then, and that's the hard question to ask, because there's so much tied, in our relationships with our parents, the guilt that would go with pursuing your own dreams, or the shame, or you've dishonored our family. How could you do that? There's a lot of these residual feelings that we would get from our parents. But at the end of the day, you get to decide for yourself, really, whose life am I living? Am I living your life, or am I going to live my life? And when you ask yourself that question, because a lot of times we don't get to ask those questions because we're just afraid to. But if you empower yourself to even think about that and ask that question, then you're really standing in your power to make some really powerful decisions in your life to help navigate towards happiness for yourself.
Man, that's a tough one.
It is a tough one,
it's a tough one.
And it's not a silver bullet answer that I can give, because there's so many different tools, there's so many different concepts, and so many different nuances. And again, we'll go into those in later episodes. But the one thing I get to stress a lot about is that it is a process. Like you get to trust in the process. You get to trust that you're doing the work, and that eventually you'll find out answers for yourself to help move you in in a direction that's more within your alignment, as opposed to being out of alignment and living someone else's life.
Yeah. So what you're saying is basically finding out what makes my soul smile,
Mm-hmm.
and then trying to make my parents happy at the same time.
Right. Well, so let's use that example. So let's say our parents have, my parents is like, you know what? You're going to go to West Point, you're going to join the military, and you're going to have this fantastic life. But for me, I like, no, I actually would like to do theater. Like that was something that I had to, I had to have not a confrontation, but a conversation with around my parents, and just even a conversation with myself. Like, do I want to do that? I don't want to fucking join the fucking West Point. I don't want to do that. I'd rather do my creative thing. So I had to ask myself the question at some point, like, whose life am I living right now? Am I living it for them, or am I living it for myself? And that's a tough one, because again, the guilt and the shame that's all tied into that. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that lives with the suffering or the joy.
Yeah.
And I get to make that decision for myself. And it can be a very hard thing for sure. But with the tools and the practices, it helps to alleviate the toughness in making those decisions, because you will now be equipped to have more information. And when you have more information, it empowers you to make different decisions and make different choices and create an impact for yourself in ways that serve you more than it would serve your the externals or other family members.
Is there one tool that we could share with the audience that can help me with that situation? Like, I want to find out what makes my soul smile, and where I can make my parents still happy and make me happy, and everything's happy. I have a happy life.
Well, I think one of the tools is journaling. Really start to write down what you think makes you happy. We kind of touch on that on the North Star, but the deeper work behind that is actually writing what really makes your soul smile. Is it coloring a book? Is it playing the guitar? Is it going on vacations that I love playing disc golf. So like going on a disc golf vacation, does that make me happy? Or just enjoying a cup of coffee out on the beach, does that make me happy? Like starting to identify what truly makes you happy. Behind those examples, you can start to hone for yourself and hone in on what truly makes you happy. And then once you find out what those feelings are that do provide that happiness, then you just find evidence that help to support that narrative. And again, that goes into mindset. And then that way, you're setting up yourself for success towards moving towards happiness.
So with writing in the journal, I can really discover who I am inside, internally, like what you're saying, my North Star.
It's definitely one of the tools. It's not a silver bullet, right?
Yeah.
It's not a silver bullet. And for anybody to expect that there's a silver bullet to get them out of their depression or their anger and their frustration and automatically be happy is false hope. It's part of the work, but understand there's a scope of other things that you get to do to help navigate towards happiness. And again, understand that this is a process. This is a journey. It's not when am I going to get there? It's how far am I going to go? Once you think you've reached happiness, do you really want to stop there, or do you want to expand that happiness? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, that's why we get to understand that it is a practice. That's why I, for myself, I call myself a life practitioner, because I want to continue to expand my happiness. I don't want to limit my happiness. I want that to expand.
Well, let's talk about that, expanding happiness, because I know there's ebbs and flows in everything, right? One day you could be happy, the next day you could be sad, and then you try to find that happiness again that you had on Monday that you want to, bring out through the rest of the week. So what can we do to try to maintain that happiness?
Well, a couple of things that I'll say about that. One, part of the reason why we establish that base where you're feeling, what you're feeling in the moment and what it is that you want to feel is actually a process that you get to start every single time. So, if you're sad and depressed and you want to be happy and you get to that happiness, but then all of a sudden, and you're maintaining that happiness for a little bit, but then life comes along and smacks you right in the face and you're back down, that's when you get to establish, okay, what's my base now? And then where is it that I want to go? And then you go through that process through mindset and making tweaks and adjustments to your mindset to help you get back to where it is that you want to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's kind of like that saying where just let the little things go. Just let it go.
Well, it's letting go, but then also understanding too with these tools and practices that the issues that we have are not really issues. You start to realize that these things happen for you and not to you. And that's the beauty of this work, is that, your mindset starts to shift because how you view things before is different than how you view them now. And and that allows you again to make powerful decisions and choices about what direction that you want to go in. The other thing that I'll say about, those ebbs and flows, the one thing that's great about having these high points and these low points is that when you're in those low points, when you're in that deep down dark place of depression and frustration and sadness, when you start to do the work and climb out of that rabbit hole, your appreciation for things start to become very different. You know what I mean? You really start to appreciate the little things, these little things that you took for granted before, you now find more joy in. And that, when you start to look at all these little different things and start collecting evidence of all these joyful little things and start putting them in your baskets, like, wow, like all of a sudden I got all these things to be happy and grateful for. Oh, life is actually feeling really fucking good right now. All these things that I was sweating out before, not even a big deal anymore.
That's like enjoying a cup of coffee every morning.
Exactly.
Instead of saying, I got to make a cup of coffee. Why don't you say, oh, this cup of coffee tastes great.
Yeah. I mean, now, like, that's a great example, because I used to take, just drink a cup of coffee, whatever. I fucking just drink it. Boom. I've got my little caffeine fix. But now sometimes I'll even just take a moment. It's like, wow, this coffee, did you see how this barista just put this nice foam right there? There's a little flower. Yeah. The heart. It's beautiful. And like, wow, this coffee tastes great. Someone you could tell they took care and the time and caring to grow this bean, and the person who picked it, you start looking at things differently. You start looking deeper into things, and you start to have a deeper appreciation. And again, when you start to have a deeper appreciation, there's more gratitude. And when you have more gratitude, you're starting to create an energy around yourself, a torus of energy that's feeling more positive. And when you start to create that torus energy, that positive torus energy, that's when you start to be able to create. You start to be a creator in your life. You start to be able to create the happiness. You start to be able to create the joy, the ease, the flow, and the grace. And you're getting back on that wave, and you're just riding that wave. You know what I mean?
So that's pretty much like how we could find our North Star again, is finding joy in the little things.
Starting, yeah, exactly. That is definitely one of the ways you start to see. Will Smith had a saying in one of his videos: everybody wants to get to heaven, but no one's willing to die to get there. And I think he got that from a Marine, right?
Yeah.
So in order to find the heaven, the little things in life, we got to do the work. We're already in hell already, but to get out of that hell, you got to do the work. And when you do that work, then you start to develop that appreciation and that gratitude. And that's where the juice is. And that's, again, why I say, like, happiness. Well, I don't say it, but it's what everybody Well, we all start to realize that happiness is happiness is an inside job.
Inside job.
That's what we get to realize for ourselves.
So I'm realizing through this conversation that happiness, trying to find true happiness, inside job, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how long would it take? How long would it take for one to find true happiness?
Depends on how much they're willing to work or how much they're fighting for their limitations. One of the things that I like to say for folks is like when I find them telling themselves a story and actually collecting evidence of why they shouldn't be happy, the question I ask them is, well, are you fighting for your soul or are you fighting for your limitations? Exactly. Exactly.
You got me thinking, man.
Right. And that question is intended to really question your mindset. Like, what it is, are you monitoring what you're telling yourself right now? It doesn't sound like you are, but that question really starts to put that in perspective. It's like, oh, wow, my self-talk is kind of shit right now. How can I reframe to reclaim my power and make a different decision on how I want to move forward?
Go into more so. The last question I got for you is explain the reframe and reclaim.
So reframe to reclaim is a practice that I also share with my clients. And the short answer of that is we take a situation that we deem negative and we somehow flip it to where it actually feels more of a positive statement as opposed to a negative statement, or a positive situation, a negative situation, and flipping it to be a positive situation. For example, I could wake up in the morning and as soon as I wake up, I stub my toe and I'm like, God damn it, motherfucker, this is gonna just ruin my day. I hate this. Like, it's gonna set me up on this just trajectory of just having a shitty day.
Yep.
Or I could stub my toe and be like, okay, let me reframe this. Just stub my toe. You know what? Actually, what me stubbing my toe, maybe that's the universe telling me I need to slow down. In fact, that sounds better than my other choice. So let's do this. I'm just going to slow down, enjoy my day, and see where it rolls.
That's a funny thing you say that, because I say that when I'm stuck in traffic, because I hate traffic. So when I get stuck in traffic, I reclaim it, reframe, reclaim, and say, man, I'm glad I hit this traffic because I could have been driving down the road and I could have been in an accident or something.
That's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. Yeah. So reframe to reclaim your power so that you can make a empowered decision and choice on how to move forward next.
Yeah, you flip the script so that way you're not depressed or pissed off. You're more like, okay, this was meant to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this was meant to happen.
It was meant to happen. Then you start to realize, wow, these things happen. This didn't happen to me. This happened for me. The reason why I stubbed my toe was so that I could fucking just slow down and enjoy my cup of coffee.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. So with that last note, you got any more quotes, man?
I do have a quote. What quote do I have? Man, I already used that one by Will Smith, and that was a good one. Here's a quote. This is Lao Tzu. I like using this one because it speaks to mindset, and it's one of my favorite quotes. When you're feeling sad, depressed, you're thinking about the past. When you're anxious and worried, you're thinking about the future. You're always happiest in the present moment. So stay in the moment, my friends, stay in the moment. And that, my friend, is a quote on mindset. Who dang.
Who dang.
Who dang.
Who dang. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm your host, Ray. Artistry in Life, navigating towards happiness. Thank you, Life Practitioner and Coach, Marking. See you next week.
See you next week.